Good morning.
Good morning. Good evening to you. Thanks for this. First, I just want to say great talks by Rob and Frake. I'm afraid to follow both of them because they were both so great. And thanks, Jonas, for inviting me into this. But what I want to talk about today is extending Statamic. Okay, there's many times when you just need to make things more better. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is go through what can you do, where can you learn more about it, what kind of extension or add-on should I make, and show you some examples, and then I'll actually walk through making a couple of them near the end. Now, the first thing, before you decide to build something, can it already be done in Statamic? Is there some native functionality? Can it be done in Antlers? Please do check if it can be done first. Many times I have seen on Discord someone come in with a question about how can I extend Statamic to do this, only to discover 10, 15 minutes in the conversation that what they want to do can already be done. Okay, the second thing to check is there an existing one? A lot of the time when I think, I need to do something more here, when I take a look on the marketplace, someone's already done it. You know, Jonas has done it, or Duncan probably has done it. He has about 100 different add-ons, right? Michael has done it. There's a whole bunch of great add-ons already on the marketplace. So do make sure you check there first. Now, assuming it can't be done in Statamic, and there isn't an existing one, you know, when do you think to extend it? When do I think to extend it? Okay, so I think about it when either doing it natively is either impossible or too awkward. There are times when I've discovered that it can be done in Statamic, but it's just awkward, or the flow isn't right for our client, or it's just not quite what I was looking for. So that's when I extend, that's when I think to do it. The other time is when I need to deal with an external system. Okay, you're dealing with an API, you're dealing with another part of your application, you're dealing with another application you need to pull in or you need to reach out to. Those are the times I look. Now, in Statamic, you can do a lot of different things. A lot of different things can be extended. So for example, what can you extend? You can extend your front end in your templates. Okay, I'm going to go through examples of all these in a second, but you can extend your front end, tags, modifiers. You can extend the control panel. You can style it. You can add JavaScript. You can add your own fields. You can add your own views. You can do what I call neither or other. You can reach out to other APIs. You can have repetitive tasks that run. You can respond to events that Statamic emits. Again, I'll discuss these in a moment. Okay, so on the front end, you can make your own modifier. We saw from Frake's talk that the Ray modifier is built right into Statamic. Okay, so I wrote that when Ray came out, and you can continue to build your own add-ons. And in our sites that I end up building, several custom modifiers we've made. Also several custom tags. Okay, you can make tags. You can make query filters so that when you are running through a collection and you need to filter it in a specific, or filter it or sort it in a specific way, you can customize that to make your own custom query filters. All right, some examples. And now these are examples from me. This is what I have made. There are many more things you can do with it, but these are ones I've done just so that it's, you know, that these are used in live sites. I made several tags to display information from Stripe. A lot of our clients use Stripe for their e-commerce side, for donations, for simple products. So building tags to display product information, to display pricing information. I've made some tags so that that's quite easy to do. Here's an example of filling in a feature that didn't exist at the time when I built it, the ability to group by date. So we needed to do that for a client, so I wrote a tag to do that. Okay, so some real life examples of some tags that I've written. In the control panel, you can make your own field types. And in fact, I will make one in a few minutes. You can add your own field types that do many, many different things. There's many different types of field sets. There's simple select field types. There's relationship field types. There's totally custom field types. You can add custom views to the control panel. Okay, I'll show some examples in a second. So on the left, on your normal navigation, you can go through and have your own item there that shows your own custom view. You can add or customize a control panel. I mentioned adding your own JavaScript, styling the control panel. You can change the navigation if you want. You can add your own custom things to it. Okay, again, I'll show you some examples of that. And similarly to the collection queries, you can also do filters in the control panel. For when you want to filter some data in the control panel, you're looking at your entries, you want to do a custom filter, you can make those. So some examples of that. Again, in Stripe, many of our clients collect a lot of money in donations. So we've made it easy for them to add those products to their pages. Similarly, in Peak, when Rob just dropped in a book block or an article block, you can drop in a product block. And this dropdown is a custom field set, a custom field type, sorry, that pulls the information from Stripe. So instead of seeing some random Stripe identifier, you see a nice name so they know what they're getting. We do the same with customers. We do the same with prices. If you imagine you pick a product and you want to choose the different prices you can do, whether monthly or yearly or one time, be able to choose all of those. However, field types don't have to have user input. You can put whatever you want in your field type. It's your own code. In this case, this is an add-on I made called Review. It allows you to expose unpublished or draft or a revision of an entry to the public if you wanted to send that out to a client for a review before it was published. They don't even need to log in. To do that, there's no field here, you note, just a button. So you click that button, it copies the review URL, and you can then share that with your client. So it doesn't have to have input. You can put whatever you want here. An example of a custom control panel view. Here is a view for Akismet, which is an add-on I made to help you stop spam, but it shows you the things it's flagged as spam, so you can either delete them or say, actually, this one is this is not spam. Those are those 3 dots on the side. That's an action, which you can also customize. Okay, so here's a custom view. There's a menu item on the left that says spam queues, and you can go in and see that. So there's a custom view. I mentioned you can make custom filters. So we're building a site, and using Duncan's runway add-on, I wanted to be able to filter one of the views based on some criteria. So I made a custom filter. In this case, filtering by orphans. These are orphans that can be sponsored. Now, you don't have to tie directly in to some Statamic functionality. You can just add things to the control panel. So for our clients, we actually put in a little widget in the control panel so that they can go in and ask us questions when they're in Statamic. This is using Front, which is just Front app, I think. It's a chat app. It integrates with email, notifications, SMS. It's a really good tool to help communicate with your clients. So we've integrated that into our control panel so that when our clients log in, they see this chat. It will actually have their name in there already if they're properly registered. So they can chat with us and ask us questions. How do I do this? I have a question about my site. Okay, so that's just our own JavaScript that's in the control panel, nothing to do with Statamic. Okay, some other things you can do with your extensions or add-ons. You can make an API or an endpoint so that external systems can contact you. If you need to have an external system be able to send information to you, or for example, you want to allow editing on the front end, or another system to send you information, you can expose that. Like I said, you can have scheduled tasks. Okay, we use these for reports. We have a nightly report that goes out about various different things. That is a scheduled task, can run every night or whatever schedule need. We also do one that does some data cleanup. You can have listeners, right? So that listen to Statamic events. So when something is saved, for example. All right, some examples of those. Like I said, creating entries on the front end or editing entries on the front end. Duncan just released an add-on called Guest Entries, I think. And it allows you to edit and create new entries on the front end. You can, and I will actually demonstrate how that works at the end of my talk. I'll make an add-on that allows you to edit entries from the front end. Okay, another great use of that, one we use all the time, is handling Stripe webhooks or handling other webhooks. So when something happens on Stripe, someone's subscription changes, they cancel their subscription, Stripe sends you a webhook, and then you deal with it as you want. So in our case, you know, we remove them from that product or don't allow them access to that part of the website if that's what it's being used for. So any webhook you can use to expose there. I can go through some of that later as well. Okay, and like I said, nightly reports. We have many tasks that do nightly and weekly and monthly reports. Just, again, some small examples that I have done. There are many others you can do. Take a look on the marketplace, take a look and see what else other people have made. And lastly, responding to events. So whenever you do something in Statamic in the control panel, pretty much all the time an event is emitted. So an entry is saved, or a global is changed, or a global is created, or a nav is created. And you can respond to those events and deal with that as you want. I've used that, for example, to when an entry is saved, to put in some customized data that's not visible from the control panel. So whenever an entry is saved or created, I go in and put some custom information in an entry. Okay, so you may be thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Where can we go for this? Now, of course, this is me. I am the read the docs guy. So please go read the docs. Statamic has a great page on extending Statamic. It covers what can be done. It covers how to do it. It shows examples. It's got full documentation there. Do go read it. Do go search. You go to statamic.dev. You hit the / key on your keyboard and you can just search for it. Chances are what you're looking for is in there. If it's not in there, please do go ahead and make either try to fix it yourself with a PR, a pull request, or put an issue in the docs repo about something that's missing. The core team is always looking to improve the docs. Of course, Statamic is a Laravel package. So many things you do on the extension side have to do with Laravel. So please do go read their docs. They have so much information there. Again, the same search, hit / on that page, start typing, it will pop up, okay? I found this site, laravelpackage.com. It covers how to create a package. I will go over what a package is later, but that's essentially what an add-on is a Laravel package. So please do go check that. It goes over how to test them, how to review it, how to hook things in. It helped me a lot. And potentially the most important one, other repositories. I can't tell you how many times I've looked to go do something and I've found the answer in a package of Jonas's, specifically his boutique e-commerce package. Because it's so large, it's done practically everything. Same with Duncan and his simple commerce. And Michael's packages, I've gone to see how he's done it. And I've gone to see how Rob has done things in Peak. Go check out what is there. Even if it's not exactly what you want, it may get you on the path for how to get there, okay? There's lots of repos out there. They're all public. Do go look. And in most cases, you can just borrow the code, right? That's what I do. Okay, go see how they do it and then use that. All right, so that's an overview of what you can do in how to extend Statamic, or what you can extend and where to get some help. So the next question that people often have is, should I make an add-on or an extension? And the way I think about it is that when I first make something, I almost always just make an extension, okay? Because it's quicker to get up and running with an extension than it is an add-on. And then if I decide that this is going to be reused, or I decide I want to share that with the world, I make it into an add-on. A key point here, however, is that there is no practical difference between extending Statamic and making an add-on. Everything you can do in extension, you can do in an add-on, and vice versa. Okay, in both, you have access to your full Laravel app. So all the Laravel code, all the Laravel packages. You can pull in Laravel packages as well for your extension, for your add-on. You have access to all the Statamic code, regardless of where you do it. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. Start with one, and you can switch to the other. Like I said, I almost always start as an extension because it's for a specific client, for a specific package. But then because we use common building blocks, we use something like Peak for our clients, I usually pull a lot of them out into an add-on, or several add-ons in our case. We have like 6 or 7 that we use regularly. Okay, now how to get going. Statamic has a way to do that for you, okay? Looking under the make, Okay, so this is under the please make. It can create a new action. Actions are what you do in the 3 dots in the control panel. You can make a full add-on. It does all of the scaffolding for that. You can make a field type, a filter, a modifier, a tag, a widget. Let Statamic do that. So what I always do is just go click make and see what it does. I often learn, because they update these, I often learn how that works. And again, then I typically look at someone else who's done it, go take a look at one of the other repos and see what they've done. Okay, so that's nearing the end of my slides. And I want to make a few extensions and add-ons. So how can we make this site better that Rob made? It's hard to believe that it can get better, but I think we can make it a little bit better. One thing we can do is, Angelina has some books. So can we get some book information from somewhere and display that on the site? The second thing I thought we can do is, let's go like some books. People click like, you want to see which books are most popular. These are very simplistic examples because I only have a short amount of time and I don't have time to build anything super complex or go into super great detail. Okay, so let's get started with the first one. What we're going to do first is we're going to make a field type to store the ISBN. The ISBN is a 10 or 13-digit number assigned to essentially every publication made, every book, and there's other information about it. Again, let Statamic do that work. Okay, so for me to get where I'm going to show you next, all I did was go PHP please, make field type ISBN. All right, let's get to some coding. So give me 1 second to switch to my dev side and we will start taking a look. Okay, so for a field type, there are quite a few components you need to understand to get it all wired up. However, it's all documented, like I said, in the Statamic docs, and take a look at the examples. And not only that, the scaffolding they create does almost all of the work for you. But I wanted to highlight a few things that have tripped me up in the past. Okay, so the first thing to note is that when you make a field type, if you're doing your own kind of custom field type on the control panel side, it is written in Vue, specifically Vue 2. Okay, so you need to make sure in your build process that you have the appropriate Vue things in your package.json file. If you're using something like Peak or one of the Statamic starter kits or the one that comes with Statamic, all of these files are already pretty much set up to work. Okay, I'm not going to get into how to do a front-end build system. We don't have time to go through all of that. But there are lots of docs, like I said, it's documented in Peak, for example. So this is Peak. You're now looking at the back end of Peak and not the front end, but make sure that Vue is included so that when you run npm install, it pulls in the right libraries. The second thing you have to do is in your Webpack file. Okay, this is the file that when you do npm run dev, it pulls this in and this is what it does. Okay, so the key line here is that we want to make sure that we are adding our control panel stuff because it's in Vue. We need to add it to the Statamic's control panel. So to do that, we need to compile it and put it in the right spot. So it takes it from where it is and compiles it and puts it right here, which is right where Statamic wants it. And I'll show you how to load that in just a second. Don't forget, if you're on the current version of Mix, which is Mix 6, I believe, you do need to add this .vue to make sure that it understands that it's Vue and does all the right Vue things when it's compiled. Everything else in here is just as it was found in Peak, already set up to go. I didn't add anything here. I added just these few little steps, ran npm install, npm run dev to install everything, to compile everything, and I was off and running. Okay, now we've put the CP file where it needs to be. Now we need to tell Statamic to load it. Apologies, I'm not as good at typing as Rob is. All right, and again, this is commented out in a default Statamic install, but all you need to do is uncomment it, or if it's not there, put it in. This tells Statamic that in the public vendor app folder, please load the CP file. Okay, again, documented in the extending section of the Statamic docs. We're also loading some styles here so that you can, if you did want to customize the control panel for styles, this is kind of how you get that loaded in, but that was already in there. So perhaps Rob is using it for something in Peak. Okay, now on to the JavaScript side. So we'll kind of go outside in. I talked about this control panel file, and this is where you tell Statamic about which components, which JavaScript to load. So in my case, we are pulling in the component from this view file. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, and we're telling Statamic, when it's booting, please load this as well. So this is what makes it show up in the back end. Okay, and if we take a look at the file that was created when we did, keep in mind, almost all of this was done when I did PHP please make field type. If we take a look at this view file, it is very, very, very simple. We're only making a file to take some text. We don't actually need to do anything. So I have a simple text input field where you can type in your ISBN, and actually Statamic handles all of this. This at input, again, says when the data changes, call the update method, which is a Statamic thing. It's built into core Statamic. So my field type is actually empty. There's nothing in it because Statamic handles this base case. If you are looking to do something more complicated on the back end in terms of your field type, here's where you'd build out your view component. So this is just full view 2. Please go look at the view documentation. It is also very good. Look at some other examples of what's going on. Okay, but mine is very, very, very simple. Okay, and lastly is the PHP part. So this allows me to show you where Statamic puts things when you just extend it. You have an app folder. Okay, in it, Statamic created a field types folder and created an ISBN file. And I have done nothing here except give it a title. Okay, and this is what shows up in the control panel. Okay, so let's go to the front end the back end, excuse me, of it and see what it looks like. Now I've gone ahead and already added it. I'm not actually going to do any typing like Rob. I am not that brave to do this on the fly, but I will show you what it looks like. So you see here, I added the ISBN field to the book part of the blueprint, the book blueprint. Note there is no icon here. Okay, it doesn't look great, not ideal. We'll fix that in a second. On the front end, sorry, in the entries, I added to the book, I added the ISBN to it. Okay, this is I already filled this with some valid information. Okay, and then in the front end, all I did, I think it's this one. Yep, all I did was add something to the template to show the ISBN number, so that if we look on the front end of the page, so if we look at the front end of the site and we go to this book, okay, we'll see the ISBN here. Okay, very, very simple, nothing special there. Okay, so we built it, we're good to go. Now we're going to delve into some Statamic things, and especially a super powerful part of Statamic called augmentation. And what that is, if you can just give me 1 second to switch to a different branch. Okay. Now we're going to start extending it and making it we're going to make it nicer. The first thing, of course, like I mentioned, was that it didn't have an icon. Okay, in Statamic, you can add pretty much any icon you want to your field type. In this case, I've just inlined it. Okay, there are other ways to do it. There's a method you can override if you want to have it stored in the file system somewhere, but it was super quick. I just found a good SVG and inlined it right there. The second thing I want to talk about is to really highlight how you can interact with other systems. So it turns out that there is an API for ISBNs. I used one, whoops, I'm not going to pay for this yet. I used this one from Open Library, and it actually has an API so that if you reach out for a particular ISBN number, you can get back a bunch of information. Okay, so in there, you get information back. And it looks like this. There's a ton more information you get back, but these are some of the interesting things that you get back, and paying particular attention to number of pages. So this is the information that comes back. So what we're going to do is, instead of just returning the ISBN, we're going to augment the data and include the information from this API call. Okay, so I'm calling a third-party system in my field type, so that when we load that page, instead of just getting the number, we get all this information. It actually calls this API every time you're rendering your page. So I'm making my call to the API. It's a super simple call. Okay, passing in the value we get. We are using Statamic's, Laravel's built-in HTTP client. Okay, again, there is docs. I included that in the code there. You can click on that and take a look. Essentially, this is a GET request to here, and then the data is coming back is JSON. So make this call so it converts it to an array and just return it. Super simple. Okay, and what does this look like on the other side? Well, a couple things we need to do first. I've already added to the blueprint. I've already added data in there, but we do need to change the template, because we're no longer showing the just the number. And in fact, what I want to show this time is I want to show the number of pages. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the show, and now instead of showing the ISBN, we show the number of pages. Okay, and we pull that from the ISBN data. And again, using standard Statamic templating, the dot means this is an array, and it's going into the number of pages field. And then on the front end, if we go back, assuming this all works properly, if I reload, instead of seeing the ISBN, which isn't super useful, we now see the number of pages. Okay, works great. Now, I don't know if you heard what I said earlier about how this PHP code in here is called on every single render of every single place that it's used on your front end. So if this call takes some time, in this case it doesn't, it's very quick, but if there is a call that takes some time, like for example, calling Stripe calls tend to take about a second or so. You don't want to have those all over your site. It would really slow your site down. Okay, so the one thing we can do is we can actually, and I'll show you this as well, we can actually add caching to it. I'm sorry, I'm just switching branches again. In this case, what we do is we make the same call, but we return the data, but we also store it in Laravel's cache. In this case, forever or until the cache is cleared. Okay, you've given everything a key so that you can pull it up later. So the next request that comes through, it checks the cache first for this key, this ISBN dash value, which will be the ISBN number, and then says, I've already got it. It does not have to make this call. Okay, so things like that can really help you speed up your calls. I do this with all my Stripe. You can do it in Stripe tags as well. I use it in my Stripe tags. We cache the product information, the price information, so that on the front end, it happens super quick. Okay, so that's a field type. Okay, so if you just give me 1 second again while I switch to talk about the next one. The next one we're going to do is we are going to make an add-on. Okay, so we're going to make an add-on. Just let me switch branches here. Okay, and just in the background here, because I switched branches and pulled a few things in, we do need to make an update. So I'm just going to do a composer update in the background here to make sure everything gets pulled in. So what I've done is I have done already the please make add-on. So it's all I did was PHP. Sorry, let me clear that so you can see it. All I've done is PHP please make add-on Statameet likes, and let it create it. I'm going to go through what it creates and show how it works, but that's all I've done. That's what I've done in this branch. So I'm going to show you the code now. I don't need this file anymore. Okay, so what it has done is it has created an add-ons folder and added the likes part. It has made a composer.json standard package composer.json. This is how an add-on is a package. So it creates this, nothing special in it. It has also added in your projects composer.json. It's now included it as a requirement, and it has actually symlinked it from the vendor folder. So all packages are stored in your vendor folder. If you've never looked in your vendor folder, there are hundreds of things in here, and it is actually symlinked it in here back to your add-ons. In fact, you can see there's Statamic as a package. Okay, and there's the likes. This is actually a symlink. You see the little arrow off to the side. This is a symlink back to the add-ons at the top here. Okay. Sorry, not app. Okay, it has also created a service provider. Every add-on needs a service provider, and these get automatically picked up by Statamic, and they're registered. Okay, so what we're building here is a likes page, and what that's going to be is on the book page, you're going to be able to like the book. Okay, so let me explain how they work. Because what we're doing on the front end is essentially a form post request, we actually need to make an API. And you do that in an add-on by making an action. That makes a route that is ! / the name of your add-on. So in my case, ! / likes. Okay, and you can define as many routes you want kind of within that space. In my case, I have made just one. It's a simple post request. Again, this is just Laravel. You can look up how to make routes in Laravel in their documentation. It's at the root, so ! / likes. I'm going to call my own controller. I'll walk through that in a second. I'm going to call this method on it. This is called an invocable controller. It only has one public method. It only has the method in it, and this is the method that's called. And I give it a name. I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, so this says, when we get a post request to this URL, please call this controller and call this method on it. So I'm going to walk through that and show it to you, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the front end. I've created a controller. There's my invoke method. It takes the request in. And this is quite simple. It's only about 10 lines long. The first thing that we do is we're going to send the ID of the entry we're in, the ID of the book. Okay, so that big long GUID you get, that's going to be in the request in the ID field. Okay, so we're going to get that, pop that out. We're going to call find on the entry facade that Statamic provides to look things up. Please note, before you comment on it, I understand there's no validation here. There's no error checking. I just wanted to keep this super simple. Of course, I would have those things where I had to build this out a little bit more. Okay, so we find the entry. We get the current number of likes out of the entry. If there are none, we start at 0. And then we, pretty simple, we add 1 to it. And then we set the data back on the entry. Here's how you set data on an entry, and then we save it. It's that simple. And then we return. 2 ways to return. I put this in here just to highlight the that you can have a couple different exits from your controllers. The first here is if this was done via Ajax or the request wants JSON. So say, for example, you've got static caching on and you wanted to use this feature, you need to make this call by Ajax call. Rob talked about that in his peak talk, where that's the CSRF dynamic token you need to get from this. I'll talk about that in a second. And you go through and you can return the likes, or you can just go back to the page you're on. Okay, so that's it on the back end. What it looks like in the control panel is I added another field to books. I added another field called likes. Let me just get back here. I already added it. It starts at 0. Okay, so it's just a simple integer field. On the front end of the page, if we go back here and we reload, I also added likes to the template. Okay, very simple. I will quickly show you where I added the action to call the controller, and then I'm pretty much done. So right below here, right below the likes, we have, this is essentially a little form, a tiny little form request. Okay, and what we do in a form is you call an action. And here's why I named that route, is it says, here's the action to call, here's the URL to post to. And again, Statamic, this is a built-in Statamic tag to get a named route. It goes through. You do need to pass in a CSRF token when you call Laravel. Statamic includes this. This is a built-in Statamic, I think it's a variable, not a tag. We're including the ID, and then we have a simple button. So every time you click this button, it should go to call the likes controller, increment it by 1, and return. So if I click this, it does take a second. It's because of the debug bar. This will come through. We come back to the page, and you see the likes has gone up. And you can click this again and again, and it will just continue to run and continue to increment. Okay, so that is really what, that's really how to build an add-on and how to build a controller, how to integrate it on the front end. A couple things to consider, however, that you need to consider when you do things like that is, for example, if you have static caching, what do you need to do differently? Okay, keep in mind the CSRF token won't be valid on a statically cached site because it will be cached. So you need to do this over using JavaScript, using something like Alpine or some sort of front end call into it. And that's why I have that return in the controller that returns JSON data instead of going back to the page. How will it scale? Right? What if many people are liking the same entry at the same time? Just things to consider. Lastly, as I was building this, I was thinking of ways it can make it, I could make it even better. If I was going to build this out for me and I was going to release it, things I would do, I would make a like tag. So instead of having people have to make the form and put all that in and they may get that wrong, I would make my own tag. So they just put like here and it did everything for it. Perhaps you need to be logged in, right? So you can't submit more than once if you've liked it. You notice I could just keep clicking. Okay, can you unlike something? Maybe there's a way to remove a like. You've thought you liked the book and now you don't, you want to remove your like. So that's it from my end. Thanks for the talk. I'm on Twitter at EMD. I'm on the Discord almost all the time. Feel free to come on there and ask me some questions. I'll pop on the Discord after this talk. There is my link to all my add-ons on the marketplace. Feel free to email me. My business is silentzed.co because my last name, in case everyone didn't know, is actually just pronounced DL, even though it's spelled with all those letters in it. The Z is silent. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please do reach out to me. And Jonas, feel free to take over.
Thanks a lot, Erin. Thank you.